You are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Flippin the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 173 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron, the one with the technical difficulties. He's Eric Reese alongside Mike Greger. Welcome to the show, Mike. I'm glad to have you on. We actually did bring Mike on not too long ago off a recommendation of Zach, and Mike has been a wonder for our Eagles team. So a big shout out to you, Mike.
Thanks, Brian. Great. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Anytime. How you feeling, Eric?
Fantastic. I got my Kelly Green. We all got our Kelly Green, except I thought you were gonna pop out with it, but I feel like here's the deal. The reason why, and I'm gonna just say the reason why you don't have yours on, it has nothing to do with you being a Mets fan, by the way. I said it has nothing to do with Brian being a Mets fan. No, I think it's just because you were trying to figure out your Mac issues, dude.
Not only that, I had another issue, right? So we all know I got my jersey for free, right? Through a little competition thing on Twitter, right? You get all the likes and all this other BS, right? I got it. It was Randall Cunningham. I was stoked. They ghosted me for about 6 months, I think it was. That I was chasing after them. I won't say their names. I don't want to just obliterate their business. But yeah, they ghosted me for about 6 months. Then they finally got back to me saying, hey, they had an issue with Twitter, which was BS because they were running competitions during that meantime as well. And then I got my jersey. And I wore my jersey on a podcast while Eric wore his. And I looked at the colors. And I'm like, damn, Eric's is really Kelly Green. Like, what the am I wearing right now? This is like a mix of a lime green and yellow. Like, what is this? So I'm not going to wear that jersey. I can't. I'm sorry. I was going to raffle it off too, but I'm like, damn, I don't want to do that to somebody else. So I got a bootleg Randall Cunningham jersey.
You know what, though? That goes right up there with, when you get your unfortunate jersey mishaps, like how I ordered a Nerlens Noel jersey the week before he got traded. So that was sick. But it was definitely like a China jersey. Like, it was it cost $35, dude. It was sick. So, dude,
and I don't mind it. Like,
it's $35.
Exactly. Like, why not? But no, Monday morning, I got up like everybody else. I did not stand in line because, guys, I have a day job and I'm not going to be out there just standing in line. Ordered my Jalen Hurts Kelly Green jersey, and we promise you guys we're going to have a Kelly Green Flipping the Birds episode when everybody has their gear in place. We don't have Zach with us today. We don't have Morgan. Shout out to Morgan. He's going through some personal issues right now. So, our thoughts and prayers are with him. Zach, we miss you, buddy. I don't even have no excuse for Zach.
I'm just going to say that I haven't seen Zach on this show.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I have, but it's been very sparingly ever since, Craig Ward made a Super Bowl roster. Haven't seen him. And he straight up said, he's like, hey, we're not making a pork bet this year. I'm like, yeah, because he didn't ante up. So, who are you talking to? See, I'm here spitting game, but I got to sit here and just say, listen, as soon as that man gets on this podcast, I'll bring it up again because you know me. I know I'm saying it right now. I know he's not here, so I need to save the rest for when he can defend himself. So that's what I'll do. I'm bringing it up. I ain't forget.
Well, speaking of bringing things up, right? There was an issue that was brought up today by Philly media, right? Hassan Reddick has been sidelined with a groin issue for the past couple of days during training camp, which is legit, right? But it did bring speculation like, hey, is he holding out? Like, is it a contract issue? I mean, can he be in a contract issue when he just signed? Reddick was asked today, hey, do you feel like you're underpaid straight up? And he said, well, you guys see it. You know what it is. And we do know what it is, right? Hassan Reddick, I was looking at the numbers today, and it kind of blew my mind on the steal that the Eagles got. Let's look at it like that, right? The Eagles are paying Haason Reddick $45 million over 3 years. That's $15 million a year. The highest paid edge rusher right now is TJ Watt, if I'm not mistaken. It's about $28 million a year. Haason Reddick's the 15th highest paid rusher. 15th. He's not even a $20 million range. and he's super underpaid because he outworked every single other guy. But he's in that hybrid role, and maybe you guys can kind of just attest to that a little bit more. Why that is an issue for the Eagles and Hassan Reddick.
We were talking about it earlier on the chat. I think all that has something to do with it. The hybrid role. I had mentioned that he kind of played in like these like under the radar media markets, right? Like Arizona, Carolina, like I mean, they're great cities, I'm sure, but not like football.
They're not Philly.
Yeah, they're not Philly, and you're not getting the Monday night games, the Sunday night games all the time. So you're kind of like under the radar, I think. And I mean, yeah, look at the numbers. The numbers are great. But even when he signed here, I didn't realize how good he really was.
Mm-hmm.
He really came in here, and he's a game wrecker. So, yeah, they got a steal. I think everyone's aware that he's criminally underpaid. But, I mean, he did sign the contract. I mean, what do you want to do? Like, keep balling out, and he's a hometown guy. He's probably going to get an extension and get, a second contract that's pays him what he's worth, I would think.
It's especially something that I look at right now, of course, looking at the value, looking at what he's did when he signed the contract, there probably was more so market value seemed to be agreeable. Also, when you join a new team, there's a lot of prove it to the contract. And he did, and then without a shadow of a doubt. And I think that, when you ask that question now, like, yeah, sure, he's underpaid. I mean, he just came off not a contract season, but a career season is what I meant to say. He just came off a career season. So, yeah, like, he deserves to be paid more than what he currently makes, but that day is going to come. Like, if he keeps up at his trajectory right now, there's not a shot in the world where Hassan Reddick misses out on the payday. And you said what, TJ? You said TJ Watt got $28
million. And I have the list right here.
So just real quick though, he was, Hassan Reddick got defensive player of the year votes. He is a Pro Bowler. This is his first Pro Bowl he's been to. If he even makes a Pro Bowl again, we're talking about definitely a pay increase where he jumps from probably to 15 into 20 mil. Like, he's gonna get a payday. So yeah, it's fair to say that technically, yeah, he's underpaid.
And that's the crazy notion of it, right? Like, because 3 years, $45 million, like, in our eyes, like, that's a home run because Hassan Reddick is like Mike has said, he's a game wrecker. I mean, 3 years in a row with three different teams in double-digit sacks is phenomenal. That's not easy to really do. But then when you're looking at these contracts, it's wild. I mean, he's nowhere. Like, these guys are getting paid $110 million a year, $100 million a year. And then a year. Over a span of time throughout their contract, they're signing with these wild deals, and Hassan signed for $345. So you feel for him at the end of the day, right? Because in my eyes, we don't reach the Super Bowl without him putting out two quarterbacks back to back in the same game, right? We don't reach the Super Bowl without him being alive in the final drives in a game and actually stripping the opposing quarterback. And it was a regular thing. Like, he's a phenomenal player, but it's just a weird situation for the Eagles to be in my opinion, because after the season, you're thinking Devontae has to get an extension. Then after the season, like, you kind of like look at Hassan like, hey, okay, you're 2 years into your deal. Let's figure something out. Because now figuring something out means the next big edge rusher deal is going to be Nick Bosa, and that's going to be well over $110 million. So that's probably going to bring him to the $30 million range, which Eagles are not going to pay, in my opinion, at least. So it's a weird predicament to be, and it kind of feels like, does it close the Eagles Super Bowl window, knowing that, you could lose Reddick, but you also know you have Nolan Smith, you have Jordan Davis, you have Jalen Carter, you have Josh Sweat. So it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword that the Eagles are weirdly to be in a position to be facing right now.
Do you think if you by looking at some of those comparable names, like a Myles Garrett who gets 25 mil, do you think maybe, and it's usually the sooner the better, but in this scenario, is it really because you just brought up the good depth that the Philadelphia Eagles have? Is it really, hey, let's get this done as soon as possible, or let's wait it out, see what happens of this season if somebody gets hurt, so whatever it is, how his season goes without somebody getting hurt, just seeing what his trajectory is. Like, would you wait another year, or would you wait for some of these guys to kind of get money here and there if they're due it, just to kind of raise the market?
Can you wait another year? I mean, I don't know, Mike. Maybe you have a little bit more knowledge on that. Like he literally just signed the deal last year, so it's kind of like it's a weird predicament. Like you don't ever hear a guy trying to get an extension on a 3-year deal that he just signed the year before.
I mean, it's like what, like T.O. back in the day trying to get a pay raise after his first year. No, I don't know. It's interesting. I think he just waited out. Like you said, they built a depth there. So he came to camp with a groin problem. Now, it's not a big deal, I don't think. But, I mean, that's something to monitor. And, I mean, as amazing as he was last year, you could argue he was the MVP of the entire team if you wanted to. Obviously, it's Jalen Hurts. But you could argue, if you wanted to, that it was Reddick. He was that good. But 16 sacks is a lot of sacks. I mean,
and that's without the playoffs. I mean, with the playoffs, I think that it brings them to 19 possibly, or 18 and a half.
Like I would be shocked. I mean, if he could do it, if he got 16 again this year. I'm not saying it won't happen or can't happen, but that's a lot. And then what do you get into? When you start crunching the stats and looking at those numbers, then when you get to the negotiating table, what do you do? I don't know. Yeah, of course he wants to get. If I was him, I'd want to get paid right now. You're coming off a career year,
and if you're the Eagles, you kind of want to do that right now because, hey, those numbers can jump from the market of being 23, 25 to, like Brian was saying, 30. Well, if I can pay him 23, 25, and he's agreed to that, it's just like, hey, I got it, like. And so I would want to do that as soon as possible, but it's, look how last season went, and that was Jonathan Gannon's defense. If this, he could do sort of the same thing underneath Sean Desai. I mean, we have something to be too hard to kind of pass up on because this is a cornerstone of the defense. Like the bread and butter has always been what happens on the defensive line, and somebody who can kind of flip between defensive line and not that great of a linebacking core. That's invaluable to Philadelphia. I think they do front the money.
Eventually. I would. I mean, I tried to bring him at least to 20 mil, honestly. Like, whether you extend him for another 2 years or so after this season, bring him to that 20 mil range. Just give him that gratifying feeling because he's not young anymore, right? He's close to 30 years old, or he is 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken. But he's become an essential piece of this Eagles defense, and he's going to be an essential piece this season. Does he crack 16 sacks? I'm with the same mindset as Mike. I don't think it happens again. Double digits, yeah, for sure. But we know that this Sean Desai defense is not going to be conservative at all. Like Sean Desai said multiple times, we're going to show you that this is Philly. Like that's the whole point of it. It's about the grit and the grind of it. And there's nobody that says more grit and grind than Hassan Reddick, besides one person who's on the other side of the ball, who I think Mike and I can attest to is looking pretty damn sharp in training camp, and that's Jalen Hurts. It's a little weird to have such a stable quarterback room, isn't it?
Man, yeah, it is. I mean, I've never seen something like this where he just gets better and better every year. It's pretty remarkable.
It was a little crazy when we were talking about the offense and the defense a little bit, a couple weeks ago, and we had nothing bad to say or nothing leaking about anywhere on offense. Like I was just kind of like, we spent 45 minutes complimenting the offense, and you look at the defensive side of the ball, and there's little holes. It's not just because it's not as strong as a Super Bowl contending team a year ago. It's kind of hard to keep that up year in and year out. But when you do look at the offense, like. I know it's stupid because ESPN brought in a pro wrestler who is a 49ers fan to talk about who are the top 5 teams. But when is Roman Reigns going to acknowledge Philadelphia? No, I'm not acknowledging him until he acknowledges that Philadelphia is better than his 49ers without a quarterback. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Anyway. Let me just cut that down real quick. But no, Hurts is even with his shortcomings and that people said, oh, he can't really throw the ball. Yeah, okay, but he was perfect everywhere else. Like he's shown that you're really going to have to do something catastrophic where you're going to have to take the game from his hands, just like how Kansas City did in the Super Bowl. That forced fumble was, a catastrophic moment, and it took the game right out of Philadelphia's hands and made it to the point where Philadelphia couldn't get one step ahead of Kansas City. And, at the very end, it went, how it went. But we have a tougher a tougher schedule this year, and with a guy like Jalen Hurts and his progression, I don't think that we really fall off in the win total this year as well. Like I think Philadelphia just gets tougher and tougher. That's because Jalen Hurts is that kind of guy. The way that he answers questions, the way that he has his, the background on his phone, him walking off of the Super Bowl losing. Like motivation upon motivation, he's pissed, but he's a silent kind of piss, which is the worst kind of piss to be. So yeah, Jalen Hurts is that dude. Like everybody takes on that mentality across the board, and the Eagles are going to be a hard team to mess with.
Have you been following any of the reports out of 49ers camp?
No.
About the quarterbacks, like they're bad. Like Purdy and Lance, like they look bad.
Yeah,
like, they're not good. I don't know if Reddick shook them, or they're just bad in general. But I don't care how much talent you have on the rest of the roster. If you have a bad quarterback, you're not going to the Super Bowl.
I looked at Purdy, and just like how everybody else said, I'm like, hey, maybe it's a little Cinderella story that happens for 2 weeks, but it won't happen against Philadelphia, and that was that. Trey Lance, he has bad luck. Like what it is. Like he just has bad luck. Like you couldn't see him on the field since he's really been drafted, so you don't know what he has there. Like how far away are we from saying Carson Wentz is a 49er really? Honestly,
I don't think we're far at all, and I'm just waiting for me to say that as well. But as football fans, right? I think this only applies to football because I feel like basketball is the players' league, right? Can we stop glorifying coaches as if they're the second coming of Bill Belichick or Bill Parcells? Like even Bill Belichick's not even Bill Belichick no more without Tom Brady. Like you need a quarterback. This isn't basketball where you could get away with a mid-tier point guard because you have a really good shooting guard. Like no, like you need a quarterback, and whether people want to acknowledge it or not, Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback at this point in his career because he's a very intelligent quarterback. I feel like not too many quarterbacks dissect the game as he does when he's on the field. Like the way he plays, it kind of reminds me of a little bit of, I'm not comparing him, but it reminds me of a little bit of how Peyton Manning played, right? Peyton Manning was strategic. Peyton Manning was intelligent on the field. You couldn't outthink him. You couldn't outsmart him. He was going to beat you one way or another, and that's who Jalen Hurts is. People said he couldn't beat nobody with a deep throw. He led the league last year in passes 10+ yards. Like they said, he's not a pocket passing quarterback. Okay, he was the number one rated pocket passer in the league last year, and he also did beat everybody with his legs. Like he's an intelligent guy. Like can we just give him the flowers that he deserves? Because one way or another, the Eagles are going to end up in the Super Bowl. And they're going to end up hoisting a Lombardi trophy with this guy as their QB. This isn't a flash in the pan like Carson was in 2017. This is actually the real deal, and this is who we have now. Like it blows my. I still can't. Like I was thinking about today, I still can't believe they picked him in the second round when they had Carson. Like you gotta imagine, like you gotta have like some serious cojones to walk into that room and be like, hey, I'm getting a quarterback. And then like this guy just hitting and he's extending him to a record deal. Like it's so weird. I'm a Mets fan, so this is a little weird for me.
No, part of the reason why, like, remember, if he fell to the second round because people just didn't think that his arm would translate as a quarterback to the NFL, and that's But
Tua was a first overall pick, and he can't throw
Well, my thing about Tua, and this is, I know there is going to be a line of people waiting to prove me wrong about this, and I understand that, and you're probably right. But hey, Tua became a really good quarterback when Tyreek Hill hit that team. Hey, Jalen Hurts has weapons for sure, but also Jalen Hurts doesn't really make the bad play. He doesn't rely on the weapon saying, hey, I have A.J. Brown. I can just chuck it down there. Part of being a good pocket quarterback sometimes is knowing when to leave the pocket, ironically. You know what I mean? Like, so when he leaves the pocket, he doesn't – usually there's 20 yards in front of him, so you got the first down. That's a good time to leave the pocket. And then when that becomes a threat, you're a good scrambling quarterback when the team makes those design runs for a quarterback. Like Jalen Hurts is an obvious dual threat. He has the weapons. Philadelphia is just going to be a terrorizer on offense. Hopefully, they can keep the defense intact as they pay that offense, though, which is going to be tough.
That's very true. Devontae's
Yeah,
up for extension.
I mean, they've surrounded him with so much talent. I mean, they've done everything right by this dude, and he's done everything right by them. I'm not slamming him at all, but I do want to see consistency here. I want to see another year of it because it is a year. Maybe you want to give him a year and a half of dominance, but let's see 2 straight years, and let's hope that the injuries aren't a thing.
That's also a key thing, the injuries. I mean, he did miss 2 games last season. It definitely cost him MVP. It extended the Eagles fighting for the division title and the #1 seed. So I definitely do agree with that. And Mike, so you covered actually the training camp on Sunday. So I kind of want to grab your insight on what you saw out there. I mean, I know when I went on Friday, my key thing was offense. I for the life of me, and we talked about this on the side, like I didn't pay much mind to the defense, right? I was focused on offense just because I was admiring exactly one player of mine, Olamide Zaccheaus, who I'll talk about a little bit later. But what did you get from Sunday's practice, and how you feeling about what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to begin. I tried to take it all in. I gravitated a little more towards the offense as well. But I mean, defensively, I mean, I wanted to see Nolan Smith up close. I mean, that guy.
He's a big dude, right?
Yeah, he's
a freaking big dude, bro.
Big, but as everyone was saying, as advertised, he is quick off the edge. And maybe that's another reason why, with the Reddick situation, you're like, we have a Reddick clone ready to go, and he's young and he's on a rookie deal. But I think he's going to play. I think he's first team reps because Reddick was out, and I think he's going to play. And I think he's going to get some sacks. He's good. He's really good. Nice to see him up close. The safety situation, I think, is a little bit of a concern. I think Reed Blankenship's locked in. I think he's the guy. Edmonds has looked a little shaky. I know I read about him for the Steelers writers. I've been reading about their scouting reports on him. And I guess the knock on him was coverage. He's good against the run. He's good in the box, but coverage is an issue. And he got beat a couple times when I was there on Sunday. And then they actually rotated in Wallace. Kayvon Wallace was getting first team reps. And I read he got him again today. So I don't know what they're going to do there. Is he good enough to be a starter? Are you going to roll with Edmonds and just make a trade at the deadline if you need to? Knowing Howie, if he doesn't like what he sees coming out of camp, I think he's going to do something. And linebacker's another. I mean, we know these are the spots of weakness or of need, if you will, right? Linebacker and safety. And the Ellis Morrow thing, they keep swapping those guys in and out. I think based on the franchise's history of undervaluing the linebacker spot, I'd be more prone to see them just kind of wing it there and go after a safety maybe after camp. But
so kind of like last season when they went after CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. I don't know who you get because Baker's off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, who do you like? Yeah. Is there anybody on the market that you feel like the Eagles could actually swoop in and steal? I mean, I think one name that's always ringing in the ears of Eagles fans is the guy who was not selected but was going to be selected in instead of Jalen Hurts is Jeremy Chin.
Jeremy Chin, yeah, I've written about that too. But then I've been reading like in Carolina that they're not trying to trade him. I mean, they might move him to linebacker in the new defense or something, but they want to use him. So, but yeah, that is a name that keeps getting thrown out there, and I'd love to have him, but I don't know if he's available. I mean, you could always sign a free agent too if you didn't want to make a trade.
That's what I was saying. There is a safety like a Jesse Bates, but I don't really know what that does, for moving the needle in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know, what are they going to do with Ringo? Is he locked in to be a corner? Do you try to move him around to safety?
I think one name that stuck out to me when free agency started, and for some reason this kid is still available. John Johnson, former safety of the Browns, who the Eagles have flirted with in the past, but he has not moved the needle towards any team this offseason, which I find very odd. So it's either he could be nursing an injury or just something weird happened in the background there. But I mean, I thought he would be a great piece for Philadelphia before they got Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, and what I read, like he didn't have a bad year last year. I think they were just trying to get rid of his contract in Cleveland. So yeah, I don't know. That's weird. He seems like he'd be a perfect fit.
So maybe a little cheap late August deal for Howie, even though that seems to be when he swoops in to kind of pick up the pieces and move forward. Outside of defense, though, offensively, Olamide Zaccheaus has been catching my eye since the moment that they signed him, and then seeing him. He didn't have a lot of drop passes and just regular passing drills, but he lit up the field. At least when I was there on Friday, against the defense. He's quick, has great acceleration. He was making the catches in the right places. Did he stick out to you on Sunday, or is that a player that's kind of grabbed your eye a little bit?
He stuck out more on special teams, like on kickoff coverages, and he returned a couple. But in terms of being the slot guy, Quez stole the show. I don't know if it was just when I was there on Sunday. Or I've heard all camp he's kind of had the edge. But yeah, he made 2 ridiculous catches on Sunday. He made 4 total catches. 2 of them were ridiculous. The one on the sideline, he literally leaped up, and Zach McPherson had great tight coverage on him. They jumped up. They were actually both had their hands on the football, and Quez, grappled it away from him, kept both feet in, hit the sideline. It was the second nicest catch of Sunday's practice, because Swift made that great catch on the other side of the sideline, beating Edmond and Morrow. But that was also a perfectly placed ball by Hurts, and he just put it right in there.
Little credit for Swift, but more credit for Hurts.
They both did a nice job. But I think what it showed you, which is how good Swift is going to be out of the backfield as a pass catcher.
And that's something I kind of wanted to talk about as well. DeAndre Swift, a lot of people thought about him just being the running back guy, right? I know Morgan was very keen on him kind of being that pass catching running back that you could see in the slot a little bit. You could see him motion out. It seems like that's the goal. When I was there, he was making catches left and right, and it looked great to see that, because you get that Darren Sproles feel in the offense. Is he Darren Sproles? No, he's not Darren Sproles. Nobody's Darren Sproles, but he is something that the Eagles did not have last season, which is why they moved on from Miles Sanders. And I feel like Nick kind of took a slide at that today when he mentioned, like, hey, you open up the playbook for the players, for the players that we have. You're not going to use the talent that's there for something that doesn't work for you. And it seems like DeAndre Swift is going to be a very, very essential piece in this offense. How do you feeling about that right now?
Yeah, he looked terrific on Sunday. I've been reading he's been looking terrific all camp. But yeah, they split him out wide. They move him around. He catches everything. He's explosive in space. On Sunday, he was split out wide, and I saw Jalen go he did a little motion move, they had some kind of communication signal, and Swift got the point. I think he was a decoy on the play, and Hurts just took up the middle for a big game. So he's going to be really dangerous. I need to get him in my fantasy football team.
Just real quick, I wanted to go back to that Jesse Bates point. He's actually in Atlanta, so you can't get him.
I don't want to correct you. I feel like correcting you is kind of
you should
correcting my spouse. No, I'm not going to do that.
You should absolutely correct me. I'm sitting there most of the time looking up hockey stuff, and I went to Spot Track, and I don't know how to use it, of course, because why would I? Here it is. Here's me doing research on the fly. Awful. Anyway, yeah. So he's not available. So there's that. So he would not move the Eagles' needle because he's not there. The end.
I'm actually pretty curious to see what safeties are available right now from besides John Johnson.
There's Marcus Allen, but God forbid it says it's not the Marcus Allen. It's just a Marcus Allen.
I think LaMarcus Joyner, right?
Know what I mean?
Did LaMarcus Joyner retire yet?
It doesn't look like that. He's still available. Him, I think Devin McCourty definitely retired, right? If I'm not mistaken, or is it Jason?
Well, Devin McCourty's 35.
He should retire.
I would imagine that he's thinking about it at least.
Hey, top of the list, John Johnson, 27 years old. You also got Ronnie Harrison from Cleveland, 26 years old. Nasir Adderley, I think Nasir Adderley also retired this offseason, right? He had that weird retirement.
Going through these, there's nothing. Nothing that really stands out to me as far as you would want to go and jump and get one.
it's not my. I feel like for me, it's not even a matter of just jumping and get one. I feel like you need a depth, right? And it's like Mike was saying, like there's still. When I think about Terrell Emmons, I think about the Eagles game against the Steelers and how A.J. Brown completely made that secondary look extremely foolish. Like he was just running amok all over them, and it blew people's mind. I mean, making that catch between two defenders. And in that game, I will not forget that Terrell Emmons had a moment where he was kind of like with his hands in here, like what the hell? I can't afford that this season, guys. I need a postseason love to the season. I need a Super Bowl this season. So for my peace of mind, I feel like, yeah, Sidney Brown is probably like gonna be great, right, in the future. Kayvon Wallace, could he come into his own? Yeah, but it's probably one of those things where it's kind of a little too late. You got to get somebody, man. Give me John Johnson just for peace of mind, or move Greedy Williams to safety. I mean, he's tall and lanky, right?
I was thinking that earlier, but I thought that they'd probably leave him at corner. Like I don't know where at corner, but I feel like he'd be just a depth guy because I mean, corner's pretty much locked up. But so like, I mean, what are you going to do with them? But obviously, I don't think of Greedy as a safety pickup. He could be though. I mean, I guess if he wants to find a spot in the field.
Yeah, I thought they might try to move him to nickel when they first signed him. I thought that was going to be the plan. But McPherson's been taking all the reps there with Maddox out, and he looks okay. He's getting there.
That's good to hear because I remember sort of liking him as a later mid-round pick when he was selected, and everybody was kind of just saying like, oh man, he's not getting it together. Well, it sounds like he's kind of finding his way a little bit. It does take a few years, so. We'll see. Hopefully, in the preseason, he makes a few plays and maybe gets on the field a little bit.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier today, actually, about the nickel spot. It's a pretty important position now with the way teams use slot receivers and everything, right? And with Maddox's injury history, and he's already starting camp with the toe thing still lingering, I just feel like that they really – I mean, they hired a nickels coach. I forgot that they did this in the offseason. They brought in a coach just to coach the nickels. So obviously they're prioritizing this position, and they know that they might have an injury problem there. So that's another, I think, position to watch because Maddox, when he's healthy, is very good, but he's got to stay healthy.
Is there an idea that? So, I guess before I should preface this, what about just bringing another safety into the box, like so maybe Kayvon Wallace is that?
Then we have no safeties.
Well, according to what we're talking about earlier, we don't. But Kayvon Wallace could be a guy that you step up, and you really do have three safeties. It's just Blankenship's not coming out of the game or rotating. So you kind of do have three safeties. It's just you're kind of using one more so as a keep it in front of you, keep it in back of you.
We have no safeties. Just say it. Say it with me, Eric. We have no safeties.
There's ways to scheme.
And listen. I love Kayvon.
I'm not saying that we have good safeties. I never said that at all. I'm saying here are the safeties we have, and here's what we need to do maybe to get to make it work.
But if we don't have no good safeties, then we have no safeties.
That's not necessarily true. Would you say when the Patriots had Deion Branch, they had wide receivers or no wide receivers?
Hey, hold on. Deion Branch was a Super Bowl hero.
Yeah,
bro. What you mean?
Dude, I wouldn't sit there and say like Deion Branch. That's not a name that I hear. I'm just like that.
That's a household name.
Who made him a household name? Was it him or Brady?
It was the MVP award.
Yeah, no, it was Brady. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. It's just
Who
like how
Brady guy you speak of. I have no idea.
It's just like how Rashay Caldwell was a good wide receiver for about 2 years, right?
I had a friend we used to debate. I love Brady. I'm a Brady fan, right? And he hates him. And we always debate. Like, well, I'd be like, but Manning always had all these receivers. Like, he always had awesome weapons. And Brady never had it until Randy Moss got there. And he's like, what are you talking about? He had Deion Branch. It's like, what are you talking about?
Right,
Deion
exactly.
Branch
Deion Branch was a okay receiver that popped off when Belichick and Brady popped off. Rashay Caldwell was somebody who existed only when Tom Brady existed.
He's like, look what Brady did when they gave him weapons.
Who was Danny Amendola? Who was he? You tell me.
You got
Danny
cut by the
Amendola
Eagles.
was an
By the Eagles.
injury-prone fantasy player for everybody. He was the fantasy player to
Okay,
pick up, but was
fair.
always
Maybe
injured.
that's
That's who
one way to
Danny
say it.
Amendola was.
Maybe that is one way to say it, I guess.
Who was Wes Welker? That's what you got to certainly say.
Who was Wes Welker before that? Yeah, that is absolutely true. And
He
then,
was not concussed. I'll tell you that much.
And then Wes Welker was like the guy around the league.
Yeah,
It was
and then-
weird. Like, it's yeah.
Well,
Were these wide receivers good on pretty much any other team? Probably not. When they walked in with Brady, they left with a Hall of Fame career because the Patriots were that
Well,
team.
you know what? They couldn't be good on any other team because Brady had an NDA that they signed, right? And they just shit the bed on every other team. Like it was weird. It's just like Julian Edelman was scared to leave. Rob Gronkowski was scared to leave so much that he retired. Like I'm pretty sure he has blackmail on everybody that came to New England. No offense, Mike. I know that's your guy.
Rob Gronkowski retired, and then he hosted WrestleMania for one night, and then said, "You know what? I like the NFL. Vince McMahon's a wild person."
I need to understand what is the and mind you, I grew up in the Raw era, right? Like Stone Cold, Rock. Those were my guys. I loved wrestling at that time. What is the obsession now with football and wrestling? Like, yeah, George Kittle, yeah, Rob Gronkowski, like this whole mix up now. And I feel like wrestling isn't what it used to be that kind of integrated with these guys, in my opinion, at least.
I think it's more so just it's something to do. Like it's not the same fanfare. You're right. It's like the Attitude Era, but I think now it's more so like, oh, all the stars are coming out to WrestleMania or their hometown. Like it's easy to get the Cleveland Browns out to Cleveland, Ohio for Monday Night Raw, but it's like, Philadelphia Eagles, they're not normally, out there popping off. Like you don't really see them when they come to Philadelphia. By the way, WrestleMania will be in Philadelphia this year, so maybe they try to prove me wrong and put Jason Kelsey in a mummer's outfit and he makes an entrance. Like, I don't know, but it's just insane to me that it's not like a cross-branded even more than what it is right now, because a lot of those guys, as you've seen with Pat McAfee, right? Pat McAfee finished, his NFL career. He did all Pat McAfee shows with ESPN, but in the middle of all that, the guy also had a WrestleMania match. The guy almost had an NXT TakeOver match. Like he's bored. These athletes can do whatever they want. Like, and these athletes are proving it right.
You know what they can do? They can sponsor this podcast.
They could. I would love that.
That's exactly what they can do. And one little thing I got to bring up in the chat, and I rarely do this, Eric, and you could attest to this. But how the hell are we the second option after Dan Celio? I'm highly offended, Rome. I'm a little offended by this, man. Like this is hurtful. Like we're not even in the same category.
Dan Celio is going to be the guy that's in a Creamsicle Buccaneers uniform or jersey talking about how the Eagles suck, and I'm just like,
somebody send me a
like
DM
how is this like how is this the thing? How does anybody pay attention to him?
Well, somebody sent me a DM of him saying that the Cowboys and the Eagles will meet in the NFC Championship, and then Dak Prescott's going to outperform Jalen Hurts and all this extra BS. And it's kind of like, guys, like you shouldn't be wasting your life away on the phone, right? Now you're wasting your life even more away on the phone by just watching that. But shout out to you, Rome. I mean, we're here every Tuesday.
We're here every week at some point.
Supposed to be here every Tuesday.
That's our schedule every week at some point.
It's tough, man. Adulting is. Can we just admit something? Like adulting is very hard,
dude. It is.
It definitely sucks. Like it sucks.
Every once in a while, you got to recharge your computer. It sucks. I got it.
Phillip Rivers.
He just admitted that. But yeah, I mean, we're getting a little bit off track. So you talk about the Kelly Greens, man, and you said earlier that you would not be out, doing that kind of tailgate for those Kelly Greens for two reasons. One, they ran out and they couldn't fulfill all the orders.
Did they actually sell out?
Well, so there was more orders than what they could fulfill. So Fanatics started sending back like 25% or however many percent off coupons or vouchers, whatever, for people who couldn't get their jersey order fulfilled because the demand was so high. which if the NHL still would like to back out their Fanatics deal next year, that would be dope. But secondly, as far as the adulting thing comes up, how would you be able to pull that off? What would be your plan? What would be your plan? Would you set your alarm, or would you just sneak out in the morning and be like, hey, I'm getting this jersey, just like how I did with Connor Barwin, and then he wasn't on the team next year? Right? Would you do that? Would that be you out there?
Let me enlighten you on something, Eric, okay? And I know my wife can hear me. I'm Puerto Rican. My wife is Puerto Rican. You don't do those kind of things.
So you wouldn't. You would set the alarm. Is what
you do. No. I set the alarm. I did set the alarm. Listen, I woke up in the morning. I told my wife, it's today's the day. 9:00 a.m. It's gonna be the day. I put my phone on. I was refreshing at 9 a.m. Nothing was coming up. Nothing. I was pissed off. Like, they're not gonna put it on the site. It's only gonna be in the pro shops. What kind of BS is this? Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, I'm working on my laptop doing my actual work, and I refreshed my screen just for the hell of it, just to see what's going on, and it just landed on Jalen Hurts' Kelly Green jersey. And I showed her. I'm like, and she said, click. I clicked it. I got it. I'm happy. It's supposed to be coming Thursday, supposedly, but it says it has not shipped yet. So I'm hoping they put it for like a day shipping and it just ships tomorrow and it gets there Thursday. But yeah, like I can't do the whole standing in line thing because I am too anxious to do something like that. Like, it just, like, first and foremost, I'm not antisocial. I love hanging out with people, but I hate being around a lot of people just because I hate the noise and I hate when BS happens, like stupidity happens. Like, there's always one person in the crowd that has a smart mouth and at least unsmart decisions, and at least it's just chaos, right? And we don't need that on the news on Kelly Green Day. But I'd rather be in the peace of my home, click the link, order the jersey, have it come, have it shipped, live the dream, live to see another day, instead of waiting in line for hours and then you lose a whole day out of it. I mean, I have a 5-year-old. I can't imagine taking her with me over there and then she's going crazy the whole time, and then we end up having to leave.
There'll be a whole bunch of dad, are we there yet? And then you would be like, I know this line hasn't moved. We are not moving. It feels like I-95, but with no cars.
Oh my! Could you imagine the traffic just driving down there?
76, but with no cars. Whatever, even worse.
Yeah, nah.
But no, I mean, I guess I did it a little bit different when I got the Cunningham one. Well, I got the Cunningham one as a gift, but I had to get up in the morning to do the whole Black Friday thing, which. Let me be honest with you. I didn't spend any money. The girlfriend at the time, now fiance, but girlfriend at the time, was just running around going,
wait, time out. Eric got engaged like not too long, like literally a couple of days ago. So
I thought I said it to everybody. I said it to everybody.
You did send it to everybody in Slack. You didn't send it to anybody in Flippin the Birds life, right? This virtual reality we live in right now. So big shout out to Eric. He got engaged, and it's time that we get to hear the engagement story. But first, before you tell us the story, before you finish the story, I want to know if Mike bought a Kelly Green jersey really quick.
Oh, me? No, I don't.
It doesn't come in Tom Brady's size, so I need to know if you got the Jalen Hurts one.
I have a rule. I don't buy current players. I got burned so many times. I got the Darius Slade jersey the year he got here, and then he changed his number. So that was it. That was the final straw. I got this one before the Super Bowl. My fiance actually bought this one for me. Jerome Brown, Mitchell Ness. That's my go-to. I don't mess around with current players anymore. They do look awesome. I'm glad you got one, but I'm not doing it.
I wish I could be like you, man. I couldn't. I needed the Kelly Green, and I needed the Hurts one. But it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I won a Travis Fulgham jersey during that time period that he was completely going off, and it's sitting in my closet. Just, who is Travis Fulgham?
You should wear it every week.
Who is Deion Branch? Like, it's the same thing. It's the same person.
Put some respect on Deion Branch's name. I know I didn't do it earlier, but come on.
Super Bowl MVP.
Have you ever seen Deion Branch and Travis Fulgham in the same room?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Exactly.
The room didn't happen long enough. You know what I mean?
We don't know that.
Yeah, we do.
So tell us, man. Tell us how it went down. How is it that you are about to be a married spud?
Yeah, right. It's a married spud. So, I didn't know. So I did on Saturday.
Wait, what do you mean you didn't know? Wait, you got proposed?
Well, here's the deal. So what's the here you go. Like the worst. I'm the worst person. Like, what's today's date? Okay. So I did it on the 23rd, right? I didn't know I was going to propose until the 20th. And like I had the ring, so like that part was all figured out. But the way my fiance is she asks like all the time, like she's always trying to predict and guess shit. And I had the ring in my pocket a few times, but she would guess like, "Are you going to do it today?" And she would like see something. I like she would like arbitrarily ask, and like in the back of my mind, I was like, "Well, I was, but like you guessed, so I got to hold it off again." And we went to a Phil's game, and just by the way, you're talking about like not liking big areas and all that stuff, and like a lot of people. I never wanted to do it in front of a lot of people. So we were at a Phil's game, and I told her right like once I got the ring, like she was like, "Would you ever do it at a ballpark or like a sporting event?" I'm like, "No, like never. Like my line of work, like it's basically doing a proposal where I work. Like it's just ridiculous." So no, there's the answer to that, and I was very transparent with that. So apparently that means that I might do it. Right? Because every person I've explained it to exactly the way I just explained it on this podcast, everyone has been like, "Well, I can see why she thought so." I'm like, I don't understand why you think that would happen. I was very transparent. I told you with my own face. So so like, like I was. So anyway, she gets in her feels when she realized like I didn't like have like I wasn't going to do it at the ball game because I stuck to my guns from day one pretty much when she got in her feels from like inning 2 to like inning 7. She was just like sitting there because here's what happened: somebody else got on the jumbotron and they proposed, and I sat there like an asshole going, "All right, Matt Strom's going to get in here. They're going to blow the game, and today sucks." Like, you know what I mean? Like that's exactly how I felt. Anyway, let's fast forward to the weekend that it happened. But that was all the stuff leading up to as context. So I sat there with one of my best friends, and he was telling me about the way that he proposed. And I don't know. I was like kind of having a hard time thinking of like, how will she not see it coming? Like if I bring her out to like a fancy dinner, she's going to think like it's probably, if I do something where it's like the two of us and we go to like a botanical garden, she's going to think that's probably going to. So I went to see my nieces, nephews, my brother, and we just made a weekend out of it in Pittsburgh. They live in Connellsville, which is a very poor town, about 20 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. Like it's a working town to the bone. But like if you're in there, you see some houses that look kind of cute, and then there's the house that like Christian Bale was in The Fighter, like right across the street. Like it's absolutely nuts how some of this is around there. And we went to this place called it's spelled Ohio Pile, but if you're from Pittsburgh, you don't pronounce vowels, you just say Ohio Pile, because everything's just a flowing roller coaster of consonants in Pittsburgh. And basically what happened is right before like we got to the part where like, hey, we're going to go swimming for the day, we're going to go into the water, which I don't, that's maybe suspect anyway with the water down there. But we got to this like waterfall where there was like an overlook, and there were about 3 different ones. Everybody, for whatever reason, just went to one, like including my family and like other people that were there. And it was pretty easy for me to be like, hey, can we just like go down to that one? Because like I don't like people anyway, which is, to be fair, like not that I don't like people, but a lot of people. Like I get kind of
get you. Don't worry. I feel you, man.
So the same thing, like I identified what you said earlier, and I went down to the other one with her. We were looking out there a little bit, and I had the ring in my pocket, and I'm surprised I didn't drop the ring to a goddamn waterfall because my hand was shaking. And yeah, like I proposed there, and she didn't see it coming, which was we were just out there visiting family, and I turned it really quick into something where it made sense. And I, people ask, and they have asked, hey, did you feel nervous about it? No, and I felt nothing different afterwards, which to me maybe means that it's just like I've been waiting to do this for a minute, or maybe I'm just a little bit nuts. I don't really know. So that's up to you guys to figure out, because I can't diagnose that myself. But anyway, I'm engaged now, so there's that.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Very
I know.
well deserved.
Wild story, weird way put, but at the end of the day, like about as authentic as it could be.
I'm getting you a Deion Branch jersey for your Your wedding.
Son of a bitch.
So I know we had a late start, but we are, we're crossing almost an hour mark. But I do want to get to one question in the chat. It's coming from Rome. Rome, because you are new to the channel, we will answer your question. His question is if we're cool with Mariota as our backup QB. I know it's been reported that he's been struggling, right? But when I was there, he looked pretty competent. Like things were flowing well. I'm not sure how he looked to you on Sunday, Mike.
Yeah, I mean he's Mariota. He's fine. Like he didn't look great. He threw an interception. Like I said, I think I like Tanner McKee. Now he's very unpolished. He needs work. He's a project. But he just looks like a quarterback, if that makes sense. He's tall. Mm-hmm. He can stand in the pocket. He's not going to run, but he's accurate. Got a big arm. So I think my opinion is that they're probably grooming him to be the backup. Not this year, but down the line. And we'll ride with Mariota this year. I think he's good enough. If you need him for a game or two, I wouldn't be scared to throw him in there. But I wouldn't want him to be my starter on a full-time basis.
Fair. How you feeling, Eric?
I agree 100%. I mean, I guess if we're getting nitpicky about Mariota, then that's fine. I don't think that's going to be somebody that you're going to sit there and say, we need to rely on this man to get into the play. No, like if your plan is to have Hurts in there and not rely on somebody to get to the playoffs, but dominate into the playoffs. That's the plan. But, being cool with Mariota as our backup, I mean, I always do the comparison game. Would I want him or would I want, Minshew? And I think Mariota plays obviously closer to the style of Hurts. Whether that means he's good or not is up for debate, but at least in mobility. And I think that's a big part of this offense. Last year, just in a few games where we saw Minshew in there, we realized the mobility was very limited. He competed hard, but I think that's the difference between Minshew and Mariota. Maybe Minshew competed a little bit harder, but I think Mariota can run probably the offense smoother. So I'm cool with it, but a backup is a backup, really, at the end of the day. I mean, how many times has a team really found a Foles or even a Brady? Again,
or
probably count
Deion
that,
Branch.
Or a Deion Branch.
Or Travis Fulgham.
Or Travis Fulgham. Or a Greg Ward. How many times?
Greg Ward, he caught a touchdown today from Mariota.
See?
You see? He caught a deep pass touchdown from Mariota on Friday as well, and I was like, oh, okay, like, hey, he's still out here. But
I think the real question should be, are we cool if Greg Ward is our backup?
No, yeah, he's a quarterback.
Yeah,
they've never done anything tricky with him, right? No trick plays with him.
Yeah,
I think they tried.
That's kind of fair.
He did.
I think they tried once a couple of years ago. I think I remember them doing something.
I need to look that up.
Maybe not.
I would be interested just to see a practice with let him run the offense at quarterback and see what of it. I mean, if it sucks, it sucks, but it's still not a starting opportunity. So what cares,
What cares?
Yeah, what cares?
Oh God. Well, it was good to be back. We'll definitely be back again next week. Hopefully Tuesday with Zach and Morgan back in the mix. But Mike, first and foremost, before we leave, just kind of, to let everybody know out there where to find your stuff. Mike is actually our Eagles lead writer. So yeah, where they can find your stuff and all your great articles. Because if you don't read Mike's articles, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're into sports. I'm going to say that right now.
Man, I'm honored.
You're not allowed to blush on a podcast. No blushing. No.
Kelly
no Deion Branching over here. Come
on. Yeah, I mean, Philly Sports Network, obviously. I freelance for the Eagles website, actually, and Billy Penn at Mike Greger, at Mike_Greger is my Twitter. Trying to get better about posting stuff on there. I get kind of lazy with that stuff sometimes. But, yeah, you can find all my stuff there. And, yeah, that's pretty much it.
I need you guys to rush to his Twitter account and ask Mike questions because Mike is a very knowledgeable person. He knows a lot. If there's anybody on my team that knows their stuff, Mike knows his stuff.
That's because I'm old.
I wasn't gonna say that or nothing. I mean, I was not gonna say that. It's not you.
Man, I covered McNabb back in the day. That's how old I am. I remember when he got benched. I was in Baltimore when he got benched. I'll never forget that.
Damn.
Sal Palantonio was trying to ask him a question, and he wouldn't answer it. And the PR guy went up to McNabb, and he's like, "You're gonna have to talk about this.
Dang.
You can't just not talk."
Yeah,
about it.
I mean, fair. If you get benched, obviously you're not going to want to talk too much about it. But I'll put it this way in hockey terms: when Tortorella benched Kevin Hayes, it's not like he could dodge questions. Like you walk in, Hayes, dude, what's up? So yeah, I mean, that's a burning question. I mean, I don't know how McNabb thought he was going to get away from that. He's the guy.
Well, I guess McNabb prepared the Eagles for it to get ready for Wentz, and Wentz definitely answered that question multiple times.
You got to be a two-handed monster, Wentz. Remember that? Remember those videos? And then how many times he wasn't? Yeah.
Shout out to Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's living his best life. He's got what? Another daughter on the way. Doing
You got a couple more deers hanging, a couple more ducks on the way. Bro,
Might be a 49er soon. By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, just real quick, Joe Burrow, is that completely finished with? I didn't really follow up on it myself.
Calf strain for I think it's like almost like 6 weeks or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
He'll be fine for the season still. So.
Yeah, I mean no, he'll miss a couple games. I think.
Yeah, he'll miss a couple games.
Right? Yeah, like the first 2?
Probably.
Yeah. So.
They got Trevor Siemian, I think.
I mean, which one would you rather? See, that's because right when I saw that and I heard that he was carted off the ice, I'm like, here, Carson time, baby. It's who's the quarterback and the longest yard? He gets butter on his fingers. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the name either. But yeah, it's Carson time, baby.
Oh God!
Watch him luck into another Super Bowl somewhere.
Somehow it's gonna happen, bro.
The same way Nolan Patrick did it for the Golden Knights. He's technically a Stanley Cup champion, but Jesus. Oh my God! You want to talk about people? That's highway robbery right there. Some people getting in to win championships that have nothing to do with the playing time to get there. Holy hell! Yeah, it happens. Cross sports, it happens, buddy.
No, what was the guy in the Phillies?
Ben Simmons would have did it if Brooklyn was good. If Brooklyn was good, Ben Simmons would have accidentally.
Does Ben Simmons still play basketball?
No, he never played basketball. What are you talking about?
God,
I'm talking about Deion Branch, bro.
This is turning into a roast.
That Ben Simmons is back this year. He's going to be back to Philly when he made the All-Star team in Philly. He's serious. He's serious this year.
He's going to be doing hook shots from the corner, raining threes.
Which means his sister will be extra protective on Twitter.
God.
So brace yourselves, Nets fans. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week before we continue on. We're Flipping the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese. And huge thank you to Mike Greger for coming on to the show and talk and just having a good time, honestly.
Yeah.
That's fun, man. Anytime.
This is it every week, sometime every week. This is it.
We're not going to tell you guys our days anymore. We're just going to show up. And if you guys show up with us, then you're
it's
the
like
real
a
ones.
pop-up podcast. It's
Yo, that's genius. That's copyright. That's copyright, all right? We got to get off now.
Go Birds!
Podcast only when Dan Cilio's on.
Flipping the Birds.